The Galactic Council chambers had witnessed 1,000 surrenders, but never one like this. Ambassador Kelra of the Voskan Empire stood at the podium, his forearms gesturing gracefully as he addressed the assembled representatives. The human homeworld has been neutralized, their primitive defense fleet scattered, their cities subdued. We await only the formal surrender protocols. The council members chittered and hummed their approval. Humanity had been a nuisance, too curious, too reckless, expanding too quickly into territories the elder species considered their own. The invasion had been voted upon, sanctioned, and executed with overwhelming force. 36 member species had contributed warships. Earth never stood a chance. Bring forth the human representative, High Arbiter Theln commanded, her crystalline voice echoing through the chamber. The doors opened. She walked in alone. No guards, no entourage. Just a woman in a simple black uniform, her dark hair pulled back, her face expressionless. She moved with an eerie calm that made Kelra's scales prickle. He had expected tears, rage, or broken desperation. Instead, Captain Sarah Chen of the Human Defense Corps approached the podium as if she were attending a routine briefing. "You are here to formalize Earth's surrender," Theln stated. It wasn't a question. Chen stopped 10 paces from the council seats. She looked up at the assembled aliens, beings of immense power, ancient civilizations, technologies beyond Earth's comprehension. Her voice when she spoke was barely above a whisper. "You invaded Earth?" The question hung in the air like a blade. Kelra laughed, a rasping sound. "Your species was warned. You refused to halt your expansion. You ignored our territorial markers. This is the consequence. You invaded Earth," Chen repeated, softer still. Something in her tone made the laughter die in Kelra's throat. Theln leaned forward. "Captain Chen, you will submit the surrender terms immediately or your planet's suffering will be suffering." Chen tilted her head slightly. "You don't understand what that word means to us, do you? We have conquered 1,700 worlds," Kelra snapped. "We understand—" "No." Chen's whisper cut through his bluster like a scalpel. "You conquer. You occupy. You extract resources. But you don't understand what you've done." She reached into her pocket. 50 weapons powered up across the chamber. She slowly withdrew a small data chip and placed it on the podium. "This contains the complete genetic and cultural database of humanity. Every language, every story, every song, every memory of our history." Her eyes swept across the council. "I'm leaving it here so that someday when other species study what happened next, they'll understand why." "Why?" Theln's voice wavered for the first time in 3 centuries. Chen's whisper became something else. Not louder, but somehow more terrible. "Because you made us remember what we were before we became civilized," Kelra's tactical display chirped. Then again, then erupted in a cascade of alerts. "Impossible," he breathed, his translator barely catching the word. All across the galaxy, human colonies were moving, not retreating, not surrendering. Every human ship, every station, every settlement was converging on a single purpose. The scattered defense fleet hadn't fled. It had regrouped. But these weren't the ships the Council had fought. These were different. Older designs pulled from museums and storage. Pre-contact vessels built when humanity thought it was alone in an hostile universe. And they were armed with weapons no civilized species would consider using. "We had rules," Chen continued, her voice still that terrible whisper. "After our world wars, after our near-extinction events, we created laws, treaties. We agreed that certain weapons were too terrible to ever use again. We joined your council because we thought we'd found others who understood that restraint. On the displays, human ships were painting targets, not military installations, not fleets. They were marking the homeworlds of every species that had contributed to the invasion. You taught us that restraint was foolishness," Chen said. "You showed us that mercy is just another word for weakness in your civilization." "This is madness," Theln stood, her crystalline body blazing with light. "You cannot win. We outnumber you 1,000 to 1. Win?" Chen's laugh was hollow. "We stopped trying to win 3 days ago. Now we're just making sure you lose too." The council erupted in chaos. Representatives screamed demands, threats, offers of negotiation. But Chen just stood there, that terrible calm never breaking. Kelra pulled up the threat assessment on humanity's deployed arsenal. His blood froze. Kinetic impactors that would crack planets, biological agents that could sterilize entire biospheres, weapons that humanity had sealed away, horrified by their own capacity for destruction. "Stand down," he pleaded. "We'll withdraw. We'll never threaten Earth again." "No," Chen whispered. "You won't. Please." Thelm's voice cracked. "We can negotiate. You invaded our home while we slept in our beds. You killed our children in their schools. You destroyed cities that had stood for thousands of years." Chen's whisper cut through every voice in the chamber. "And now you want mercy?" She turned toward the exit. "Wait," Kelra shouted. "What are your terms?" Chen paused at the doorway. When she looked back, there was something in her eyes that made every being in that chamber understand, truly understand, why humans had once feared the dark. "We don't have terms," she whispered. "We have a countdown. Every species that participated in the invasion has 72 hours to evacuate their homeworlds. After that, we'll show you what humanity looks like when we stop pretending to be civilized." "You're monsters," someone cried out. Chen smiled, and it was the saddest thing in the universe. "No," she whispered as the doors closed behind her. "We're what you made us remember we could be. The monsters were always there. You just made the mistake of thinking our mercy was weakness instead of choice." The council chambers fell silent. In 72 hours, the galaxy would learn what humanity had spent 10,000 years trying to forget. That the true measure of a species isn't what they're capable of in peace, but what they're willing to become in war, and humanity, it turned out, was willing to become anything.